Yo, what's going on YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. We are taking a look today as we continue my off-season predictions videos. We are continuing today, taking a look at the Detroit Red Wings. We'll be taking a look at them in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys already know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. So let's take a look at the Detroit Red Wings. So we can expect a lot of changes in Detroit over the next couple of months. A lot of prospects that we're going to see coming into the lineup, and not to mention a lot of veterans potentially on the move. So looking at some guys that I think are going to be out of Detroit. Now, they do have to re-sign Jacob Vrana. That's the one exception. But you have guys like Valtteri Filppula, Darren Helm, Luke Glendening, Matthias Bromé not returning, Evgeny Svechnikov, Sam Gagner. A lot of those guys will not be back in Detroit next year. Let's be completely honest. Mark Stahl will likely not be back. Alex Biega. I mean, some of these names, it's like, that guy's still there. You know, that guy still plays in the NHL. It's one of those things for the Red Wings. So what can the Red Wings do this offseason? So there's a couple things that I think the Red Wings can do. They can definitely make a couple of moves. So on defense, I'd like to see them actually trade two of their defensemen if there is the right price. Danny DeKeyser and Troy Stecher. Now they each have 2 years left on their deal. Troy Stecher is making $1.7 million per season for the next year and the year after that. Danny DeKeyser is still a little bit higher of a price tag, making $5 million for this season and next. So he is a higher price tag. Now, the way Troy Stecher played last season, I would be asking for a first and a third for Troy Stecher. I'd be saying, hey, you know what? This guy had a really good season last year on a not-so-good Red Wings team. Hey, you know what? If you're going to give me a first and a third, I'm going to take that trade and run with it. And if not, well, then we're not going to trade Troy Stecher. Troy Stecher has been that good for the Red Wings. If you don't get the exact price you're looking for, don't trade him. But if you're going to, don't necessarily shop him around, but say, hey, listen, this guy's worth a first and a third to us. If you want him, we'll give him to you, but you have to give us the price tag we want. And Steve Yzerman can and will do that for his Wings team. Danny DeKeyser, kind of a similar situation, a little bit different because of the cap. Let's say the Red Wings retain half that. So now it's a $2.5 million cap for Danny DeKeyser somewhere. Ooh, bad voice crack. Let's say it's $2.5 million per season. So now instead of giving him $10 million over the next 2 years, you give him $5 million for the next 2 years. That's a lot, easier for a playoff team to swallow. So let's just say the Vegas Golden Knights, right? Vegas wants to add another defenseman. Well, now you take on Danny DeKeyser. Okay, you know what? Yeah, you guys, you know how you screwed us over with the expansion draft? Yeah, no, we want a first and a second for Danny DeKeyser, and we'll take half his salary. Thank you very much. Pony it up and call it a day. Same thing. If you're not going to give us that first and second, we're retaining half the salary on this guy. Don't even consider the trade. Honestly, the Red Wings may be able to get a first, a second, and a third for Danny DeKeyser. They probably could. But for the right team, that's what it comes down to. And Steve Yzerman, the way he does deals, I would not be in the slightest bit surprised if he was able to pull that off. Now, the reason I want to move some of these defensemen out is not necessarily because we just want to make the team worse. First off, you're getting assets. That's the big thing. The Red Wings need to acquire more assets, more draft picks. Now, maybe if you're thinking, all right, well, they don't need more draft picks. Well, you know what? Worst case scenario, you're just, let's say those draft picks don't turn into anything. Well, you're giving more ice time for some of these young defensemen that the Red Wings want to call up. For example, guys like Moritz Seider, Albert Johansson, Jared McIsaac, Joe Hicketts, Emil Vieiro, Seth Barton. Those guys are going to get more minutes once we see guys like, what's his name? Now I already forgot his name. Once we see guys like Danny DeKeyser and Troy Stecher, if they were to get traded. That's really the big thing here. It's a win-win for Steve Yzerman. He's getting assets or high-end assets for For a guy like Troy Stetcher who overachieved last season, you could argue, and you're able to create more ice time for a McIsaac or a Cedar next year, and the same thing kind of goes for Danny DeKeyser, but you could also get the benefit of moving out that salary. That could be a huge win for the Red Wings, especially this offseason. Now let's get into that topic. So let's say they do that for Stetcher and DeKeyser. Well, I'd like to see them extend Jacob Vrana to a long-term deal. He's been a really good player in Washington, really played well from the deadline to the end of the season for the Red Wings. Expect him to be getting a nice 6 to 7 year contract with the Red Wings. This guy has been very good. He's got a lot of a lot of things going for him. Former first-round pick, a 20-plus per season goal scorer. This is a guy that you can expect is going to be a goal scorer, and the Red Wings need more of those guys, if we're going to be completely honest. So having a guy like Jacob Vrana in the fold long term absolutely makes sense. Coaching, we're going to keep the same. Jeff Blashill has just been extended. At the draft table, depending on where they pick, whether it's first, second, or wherever they end up picking, that's going to change the factor. So let's say they select first. Well, you're taking Owen Power. Easy answer there. If they select number 2, I'm taking a look at Simone Edmondson, the left shot defenseman who's been playing over in Europe. This is a very talented left shot defenseman and could add to that Red Wings defensive core with guys like Cedar and McIsaac and Galagoski. That could be a really solid core that the Detroit Red Wings are starting to create. Now, let's say they have maybe the 4 or the 5 or the 7 overall pick. Well, at that point, maybe you look at a center left winger in a guy like William Eklund, who, again, also playing overseas. This is a guy that I think the Red Wings should keep an eye on. It reminds me a lot of like a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins-esque player where he could play center, but he could also jump on the wing on the top line with Dylan Larkin. But he also has the capabilities to center his own second or third line. I think that's a really valuable asset to have, a Swiss Army knife that can go from your third line to your top line and really not have much of a difference in terms of his impact on any of those 3 positions. And I think that is something that the Red Wings desperately need. And then goaltending, I'm going to keep that the same. I like what they've got there. Evgeny Svechnikov, trade his rights, whether he signs in the KHL or whatever he ends up doing. Move on from Evgeny Svechnikov. Keep the goaltending the same. I like that. And honestly, I'm going to look at some free agent signings. Now, we're going to sign a center and a defenseman. Now, I already talked about a certain team in particular, the Ottawa Senators, looking at Nicholas Hjalmarsson of the Arizona Coyotes. Well, let's say Hjalmarsson, I like Hjalmarsson as a fit in Detroit as well. A veteran that brings some leadership for some of those young guys, especially guys like McIsaac and Cedar. A guy like Hjalmarsson could add some, not only depth with his skill and speed as a defenseman, but also that leadership. I think he would fit in well there. What about a guy like Alex Galagoski, a left shot defenseman, can play right shot, so a little bit of a utility in that regard. Again, has a long pedigree in the NHL, been with the Florida Panthers, the Dallas Stars, the Arizona Coyotes. I think he would be a really nice fit as well. What about a guy like Jason Demers, another defenseman that I think could draw the interest of the Detroit Red Wings? Now, looking up front, specifically at the Boston Bruins, David Krejci. What's the status of Krejci staying in Boston? Will he stay there or not? I think Krejci would be a great addition into the top 6, maybe even middle 6 center role for the Detroit Red Wings. And Steve Yzerman has seen him plenty with the Tampa Bay Lightning playing in Boston. He saw a lot of David Krejci, a well-respected veteran in the NHL. David Krejci would bring that culture together in Detroit. I think he would be a huge addition for the right price and the right duration of a deal. What if it's a 5-year deal? Maybe avoid Krejci. But if you get him for maybe a 2-3 year deal, I would absolutely look at a guy like David Krejci. And that's it, really. I think the Red Wings, for the most part, have kind of done what they need to do in terms of the major moves. They've moved on from Mantha. They sure as shit should not be trading Dylan Larkin for anything. They shouldn't really be trading any of their young guys like Zadina. They really, they don't have much that they could really trade. They have guys like Joe Veleno coming up. Chase Pearson, Taro Hirose. I mean, there is promise for this team. I'm very excited to see what the Red Wings look like going into next season because I think there's just going to be a lot more change. And depending on where they select in the draft, could they even take the goaltender, Swedish goaltender Jesper Wallstedt at their spot? So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What would you do if you were the Detroit Red Wings in this spot? What kind of trades would you make? What signings would you make? And who would you maybe draft at the draft floor? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.